Hi guys, welcome back for another Halloween treat video. If you're new around here, my name is Brittney. So I'm sure that you guys have heard of hot cocoa bombs at this point. They are a super cute fall and winter treat and are so fun to decorate to fit a theme. Of course, today's theme is Halloween, so I'll be showing you a couple designs that I've come up with, like a skull, jack-o'-lantern, mummy, eyeball, spiderweb, and cauldron. So let's get started. You're going to need some supplies. The most important one is the chocolate sphere mold. This one is silicone. So last year these sold out super early in the season. You couldn't find them on Amazon. The shipping was like months out. So if you're thinking about this now, I would purchase it right away. I've linked this and all the other supplies that I use in the description box down below. You'll also need some hot chocolate powder, whatever flavor that you like the best, some parchment paper piping bags, click the card to see how I make them, some food grade gloves, some silicone or plastic bowls or cups for melting your chocolate, and lots of colored chocolate or candy melts. Now the first step is to melt your chocolate. I like to use these silicone cups and I just heat the chocolate in the microwave for 20 to 30 seconds at a time, and I stir it in between and I just heat it until it's nice and smooth. After you melt your chocolate, you're going to grab your sphere mold. Make sure it is clean and that it doesn't have any little fuzzies or anything in it. An easy way to clean it is with a cotton ball and vodka, but if you don't have that around, hot soapy water will also work well. Just be sure to dry the cavities so that they don't have water spots. Now I've got some melted orange candy melts, so I'm going to fill the first two spots first for what will become my jack-o'-lantern. And there are different ways to fill the molds. Some people use a spoon. I like to use gloves and my fingers so I can feel like how thick the chocolate is. So I'm just going to start with a spoonful of the candy melts and put it in the mold, and then basically I'm just going to smear it around until there's a first coat. I just want to make sure everything at least is covered to start with, and that there's not too much chocolate pooling in the bottom part of the mold. I'm going to try to make the chocolate as even as I can. I also think it's easy to do with your fingers because then you can just scrape off the chocolate on the edge like this. And you'll be able to see the mold through on your first coat, but that's okay. I'm going to do a second coat as well. So that's good to start. Then I'll do the second one. Yeah, and be sure you get it all the way up to the edge. The edges can be thin and then they can break easy, so just make sure there's plenty of chocolate up along the top edge. And then I'm just going to take my mini offset spatula and scrape the tops so that there's no overhang. And now while these two set up, I'm going to fill these other 4 cavities with dark chocolate. One bomb is going to be like a sphere with a spider web on it, and the other one is going to be a cauldron. Now you can do the cauldron with like black candy melts, but I want the hot cocoa to taste good, and candy melts aren't my favorite, so I would rather use dark chocolate. So it's going to be like a dark brown cauldron, but I just prefer to use chocolate when I can rather than candy melts. So that's just what I'm going to do. Okay, now these two are set up and ready for their second coat. So when you're doing the second coat, your goal is to finish covering any parts of the mold that you can see through, while also still trying to keep the layers thick enough to be strong, but thin enough that they're not going to be way too thick to melt when you put it in the hot milk to make your hot chocolate. And then the other thing you want to do on the second coat is really make sure that the top edge isn't thinner as it goes up. So I like to dip my finger in a little bit of chocolate and go along the edge and just like scrape it so that it wipes off the excess chocolate into the sphere and makes that top edge nice and sturdy. And then scrape it clean while it's still soft. And then by the time I'm done with these ones will be ready. So I'll just do a second coat for all of them and they'll be ready to put in the fridge to set up so we can unmold them. All right, now that our full mold has 2 coats, I'm going to stick this in the fridge for about 5 to 10 minutes until the spheres, well, half spheres, are firm enough to demold without breaking or bending. Okay, I lied. It was more like 20 minutes, but they're nice and chilled now. So I'm just going to carefully press the bottom. Well, first you can kind of loosen the edges, but you don't want to snap the edges. So it's really easiest if you just push up gently from the bottom, and they should come out really smooth like this. And they should be nice and shiny. And if you break a couple, that's normal. Not all of them are going to survive, but if you have the coats thick enough, they should come out really easy. And if they're cold enough, so 20 minutes. Just to be safe, 20 minutes in the fridge. So I'm just going to set these ones aside and I'm going to wash my mold again because I'm actually doing 6 designs, and so I'll just set these aside until they're ready to put together and decorate, and I will show you that later. So I've got my clean, nice and shiny mold, and these 3 are going to be an eyeball, a mummy, and a skull, but I'm going to be using a little bit of a different technique. I'm actually going to be piping on some designs into the mold before I fill them. So I'm going to grab some parchment paper piping bags with some melted colors inside, and I'll show you how I'm going to create the designs. All right, so first up is the skull, and I want it to look like one of those dripping caramel apple skulls. So I'm going to start with the nose, and I'm just going to pipe an outline like that. I can always make it smaller, so I'm making it pretty big to start. And then I'll pipe the eyes, which are just like not really circular, kind of just like round-ish. Okay. And then what I want to do is create like a skull shape. So I'm going to do drips all the way up to the edge on this part where the nose is. That would be like where the mouth of the skull is, if that makes sense. Hopefully it'll make sense when you see it all finished. And then, because this is a half sphere, we're making drips up all the way around. So, and they don't need to be even. These are like fake drips, you know? So I'm just piping them up towards the top edge. And then I'm just going to fill it in like that. All right, so next up we'll do the eyeball and then the mummy. So I've got some black, and for the eyeball, I'm just going to make a nice big circle in the center with black for the pupil. Like that. And then for the mummy, the same thing, but only this time I'm doing 2 eyes. So I'll just do 2 circles, a little bit smaller, but kind of like that. And now these are all set up, I'm just going to pipe the rest of the eye. And for the eyeball, I'm going to use blue. So first I'm going to pipe at the edge of the pupil to make sure there's chocolate. And then I'm just going to make it as thick as I think an eye should be. Okay, and now the mummy's going to have these nice lime green eyes. Okay, so the last thing to finish off the eyeball, we're just going to make it look nice and bloodshot with some red candy melts. And you don't have to do this, but I'm going to try to make the 2 sides match up. So I'm just going to make little marks kind of evenly along the edge like this. So I'm doing it in half on both sides and then again, so that when I put the 2 spheres together, maybe we can get them to line up. If they're not perfect, that's okay. So basically just going to draw some squiggly bloodshot lines here. And then you can add some other little random red spots and squigglies and stuff to make it look gross. You know, spooky for Halloween. Okay, so now these ones are ready to fill, and I'll show you how to do that. So the background on my skull is going to be dark chocolate, so I need to fill this one and this one. And now that the designs are in there, I do it the exact same way that I did with the other mold when it was just no designs in there. So I just use my glove again. The only difference is that if your chocolate is too hot, it can melt some of your designs and make them smeared, which with this particular design, I'm not too worried about because it's Halloween, and you know, if the skull looks smudgy, then it actually adds to the look, especially with the bloodshot eye one. If the red kind of melts a little and smears, it might actually look cooler. So, and then for the skull, I just want to make sure that there will be no missing patches in the eyeballs. So I'm just going to make sure to like press the chocolate in so I don't get any air bubbles around the edges of the design. And then basically just move it around and do the first coat like any other cake bomb. And then the mummy and the eyeball, I'm just going to fill with white. On this part of the eyeball, you don't need to put any white there because the chocolate is going to already be pretty thick. So I'm going to just try to avoid it because I've already piped quite a bit of chocolate there. So I'll just go along the edges. Okay, so our first coats are all done. And now we'll just do the second coat, just like before, and then pop them into the fridge for 20 minutes. Okay, so this is gross. I bet that was driving you guys nuts while you were watching. I missed a spot. Okay, we'll fix that. Ooh, I'm excited to see how these ones turned out. Why is that funny to me? I'm not sure. Okay. All right, so now it's time to fill and glue the cocoa bombs together. So I've got little workstation set up. I've got some marshmallows if you like marshmallows inside, my hot cocoa ready, and a spoon for scooping. And then a cookie cutter helps to hold up the sphere while you're filling it and gluing it together. And then you just want to grab your second sphere. And then I've just set the oven to its lowest heat setting, and I put a plain sheet tray in there to warm up because we'll need this to glue the bombs together. And I left the oven on in case it cools down. You can pop it right back in there to warm it up again. So the first thing I'm going to do is warm up one side, just enough to melt it. And then you want to work fast. Put your scoop of hot cocoa powder and then some marshmallows, and then you'll melt down the other side just enough to create a chocolate seal. And then you'll just stick them together like that. And then before it cools, you can clean it up with your finger like this. And there you go. And if you're finding you're getting a little gap, then you just want to leave it on the pan a little bit longer so that it melts the edge down to where the whole circumference is like the same. Now that the bombs are all put together, it's time to finish them with some extra little decorations. For the cauldron, I need to do like a lip for the top part where like the potion sits, you know. So I'm going to take some chocolate. I'm gonna try to make it round, but I'm just going to pour it, yeah. I think I want it to be a little thicker. So I'm just going to put it on some parchment like that and take the sphere. I think I want the seams, I think I want them on the side, so I'm going to put it this way. And I'm just going to smash it down into the chocolate like this. The eyeball and the skull are all finished, but we need to decorate these three. I can count, I swear. All right, here are all the finished bombs. This is my favorite part, watching the bombs melt and sometimes explode into the hot milk. Be sure to comment down below which bomb is your favorite, and if you liked this video, then like this video. It helps me out a lot. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, today's the day. And if you want to see more Halloween treat ideas, just click on one of these videos. Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you soon. Bye!